Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Making Light Two Humans Being. With me, as always, is Kate Foggo, and I'm Julie here. And as you probably can tell, we have a very special guest star today. Karen Dendy Smith is here. She is a fellow soul level animal communicator and soul level intuitive coach. She studied with the same teacher that we did, Danielle McKinnon. She actually graduated before us, so we call her an OG. Um, but we're really excited to have her here today because what we want to talk about is one of her she says a lot of specialties, but one of her specialties is Qigong. And we thought we would learn a little bit more about Qigong, share all that with you, and then see how that helps her with her intuitive abilities as well as, being human, because that's what this show is all about. So welcome, Karen. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here, Julie and Kate. I'm excited to
It's
talk
an
with you
honor for
guys.
us because what Julie didn't mention is you've actually been a teaching assistant in, well, I don't know, at least all the way through the soul level intuitive coaching. I can't remember about the animal, but possibly in that. So these were all like the demigods that we looked up to. And when Julie actually got to know Karen, and here I am in my 50s, and I'm still like, what? You got to speak to the teacher's pet, like.
Okay, not the
No,
teacher's
we just
pet.
see you as a sort of, you don't think that you'll ever be on the same level as the people that are sort of teaching you. So welcome, and
Thank
it's
you.
exciting.
And then you learned I'm just a goofball. So,
That is not a word that has ever come up for me around you, Aaron. A lot of other stuff, but not that.
I love it. I love it.
So,
Oh,
Karen,
dear.
why don't you tell us first a little bit about what is Qigong?
So Qigong, this is a great question because people think it's a particular thing.
Mhm.
And in the real definition of the word Qigong, it's actually kind of it's a captive kind of name for a lot of different practices that um, fall under a certain category. So the word qi in English, the translation of the word qi means energy or life force, right, from the Chinese. So qi is life force or energy. Gong actually means the practice or cultivation of cultivating life force energy over a lifetime.
Hmm.
So when you're using the word Qigong, you're literally saying, I'm doing a practice that helps me cultivate life force energy into my body over the course of my lifetime.
Oh.
So Qigong is actually, so what is Qigong? Qigong is Tai Chi,
Hmm.
martial arts, um, certain forms of meditation. They're all different types of Qigong where you practice, you're cultivating energy, for example, into your muscles or into your organs, or strengthening your root, or like Tai Chi, you're grounding yourself and strengthening your root and cultivating force to use if you would ever turn what looks like a delicate dance into an actual martial fight. So
Hmm.
Qigong is actually just cultivating life force energy. Um, the type of Qigong that I have studied for 23 years, practice daily, and now teach people, is a particular form called Pangu Shengong. So there are hundreds and hundreds of forms of Qigong, yoga, like I said, Tai Chi, there's all the different practices. Um, but the Pangu Shengong is the one that I keep coming back to. I've learned multiple types, and this is the one that I keep coming back to because it, for me, is the most powerful. And it seems to have the most powerful effect for people who are trying to heal themselves. So it's the one that I've landed on. And it also is one that I use with animals.
Hmm.
Do you not have some super? I don't want to say famous because that doesn't feel like a very spiritual word, but I'm not sure why not. But
Yeah,
do you not have some really famous teacher?
I do. I have a couple,
Of
but of course.
course
all
you
of
do.
these all these practices have like the famous master in the lineage, right? But my teacher, my is his name is Master O Wenwei. O is his last name, and Wenwei is his first name. That's how the way that they say it. So Master O Wenwei. He is the creator of Pangu Shengong, and so Pangu actually means divine or creator. So universal creator, divine source, whatever you want to think of that is. That's Pangu. And then Shen actually means spirit, like our spirit. And Gong is cultivation. So divine spirit cultivation is the type of Qigong that I teach and have learned and studied with Master O.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I heard you talk about Pengu Shendong, but I didn't know what when you break it. I mean, I knew Pengu, but Pangu, but I didn't know the rest of it. So that's that's really interesting.
Yeah. And he will translate it even simpler. He'll translate it as divine mystical Qigong.
Oh.
We'll just call it mystical Qigong because it is about connecting into the mystery of the universe and the divine, which we feel on the human the human level, we feel like that's very mystical. So he's used that as a word too in English.
So how did you even get into it, Karen?
It's a funny story. So I was living on the South Shore of Massachusetts and started to go through a divorce and was working out, getting myself back in shape, all the stuff that divorced ladies start to do to make themselves, deal with the stress. And I overworked out and pulled a hamstring and ended up 3 different people in the same week that did not know each other referred me to the same acupuncturist. His name was Paul Frazier. And so you may have heard his name too, because he's a very senior student of Master O's, and he's the one that introduced me to this practice and to Master O. So I went to see him back in 2000, and when we met each other, it was like we were coming back to a reunion, like, oh my God, there's my brother that I haven't seen in this whole lifetime. And he felt the same way. And come to find out, we probably did know each other in other lifetimes and worked together like this in other lifetimes. And so I started really studying with him and learning from him almost immediately after I met him. And he's the one that introduced this Qigong to me, because when I went to him, not only did I have a pulled hamstring, but I was breaking out in rashes everywhere. They thought I had lupus. They thought my gallbladder was on the decline, and my eyesight was getting really blurry, and I was only in my 30s. So with this practice and grounding and some Chinese herbs, but really this practice, over about 6 months, everything started to go away. And it's never come back. And actually what's really crazy is my eyesight has gotten better and better and better over the years. And it's actually twice as good as it was 15 years ago. Like the decrease in my prescription has decreased by 50%.
Wow.
Which is kind of like an added bonus that I didn't think I was going to get, but I did.
Wow. So what's the Chinese supermaster doing over in the States then?
What does he say that again? What is he doing?
Well, you sort of imagine, or maybe I just watched too much Karate Kid. Oh, that's Japanese, isn't it? That's no good, is it? Bad reference.
It all stems from the same place, I think, Kate.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
What is a Chinese master doing over in Massachusetts? Did you say you were?
He actually lives in California now. He left China and moved to California, but he travels until COVID. He was traveling all over the world teaching.
Okay,
and he would
right, because I just imagine them living in some remote mountain up a single path, rocky path that only a donkey can get up. But
you're not that far off, actually, although it isn't a rocky path, but he does live at the top of the hills in California.
Of course he does.
It is a windy, tall road that if you had to walk up it, you'd be like, and he does have his own like flower gardens, and he raises animals now, and he has llamas and chickens and goats and dogs and cats, and he really is, and grows all like a lot of his own vegetables and has ducks, and yes, so he really has made like a magical place where he lives now.
Wonderful.
Yeah, he's amazing.
So what would you what comes to, I mean, we all know that energy healing, for want of a more generic term, can fix just about anything. But typically,
Yeah.
what do people come to you for, Karen?
So people come initially, and Master talks about this too. People come to this practice usually because they are feeling out of out of balance, in disharmony in some
Physically,
way, right? And
physically.
physically, mentally, or emotionally, and
Okay.
spiritually, actually, all four, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. They're feeling completely out of balance or struggling with something. Um, a lot of the times it's their immune system that's out of whack. So the way that this energy practice works is the more life or force energy you cultivate, the more you have to replace something that's full of something that isn't really good for you. So when you think about energy in and of itself, we come into the world mainly with a lot of good energy, like the battery's full with the good stuff. And over time, over our experiences, our own stress and use of that battery, and our own perception of ourselves and our emotions and our approach to handling ourselves in the world starts to deplete that good energy. And the more we are in other frequencies, the more that starts to replace the cup, right? So let's say this is the good energy, and you use it up, and then you refill it with, let's say, green colored waters, right? So now it's like tarnished, it's tainted water or tainted energy. That starts to feed our bodies in a way that isn't good, doesn't feed the organs in a way that's good for us. It's like eating energetic Dunkin' Donuts, for better a better way to explain it. Yeah, they're good, but do they good for you?
No. No.
So
So hang on, I was being funny when I said sugar, but you actually sort of making a literal translation. What is this bad energy then that we're consuming?
so it's our use of energy and depleting energy that feeds a vibration and a frequency that keeps our organs healthy, that keeps our soul connected to us, that keeps our emotions in check, or that we understand our emotions and keep ourselves balanced. So the more stressors that come into our lives, when people emit energy and emotion at each other all the time. So we become sponges for everything that is around us, and taking in someone else's anger or family ancestry issues or family dynamics. Now that starts to infiltrate the frequencies in our body and change the currents, right? Change what is feeding the keeping us animated.
So it's
Like,
literally a form of negative energy.
Yeah. If you think about it as, if you just basically think about it as vibrations, the higher, the cleaner the vibration, the cleaner the water, the purer the function, right? The better the support. But then when we start drinking, taking in stuff that's been tainted, maybe it's got muddied, and that's what's feeding our body and our emotions and our soul. Then we start to get really bogged down. And what happens is that kind of energy can either block a flow to an organ, muck up a feeling we have about ourselves, send too much somewhere and overload an organ. And so those are the things that start to create all this disharmony. And when we practice cultivating life force that's like this again, right, we're asking our bodies to replace the muck with something that's cleaner. But that takes time. And this is the part of it that I find with people, and even myself, impatience. Part of this practice in cultivating is understanding that it's taken a lifetime for most people to muck up their energy, right? So starting to practice doesn't mean that you just go, oh, replace, put in the good stuff, I'm done. It's a slow
You
process
don't?
of replacement.
No, that's not.
Yes, I
I want
know.
instant results, Karen. Otherwise, I'm not interested.
Exactly.
But that's also what we forget, is not only has it taken us a lifetime to get here, even those of us are so aware we're still shoving the bad stuff in. We might be getting some good stuff in, but the bad stuff is, we're still
Still
packing
coming
a bit of
too,
that in
though.
every day. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the bad stuff still comes at us too every day. So our awareness of how much we're letting in and using up the good stuff to keep us going means that, think about it, if you're starting to fill back up with the good, you got all this bad stuff, you start to fill back up with the good stuff. So here we are. Then some bad stuff happens. So you start again with the good stuff. Then bad stuff happens. So the point is, can we make the good stuff fill ourselves up beyond the bad stuff? So when bad stuffs happen, we're still like this.
We're at positive zero. I had a boyfriend that always used to talk about money in terms of, by this time next week, I'll be a positive zero, which I always thought was a great expression.
That's really funny.
You just need to get just above it, with just enough of a buffer to be positive.
Yeah. But then once you get above the stuff, that's when subtle changes start to happen, right? When you start to infiltrate your body with this better frequency and your body starts to take it in like a sponge, it actually helps you push out the stuff that it doesn't belong there anymore, because it starts to recognize the difference. So a lot of times people will say, I feel more heat, more tinglies, more uncomfortable, more out of balance, because for a little while, because the good stuff is pushing the bad stuff out.
Oh, interesting.
And this is where people can get a little freaked out sometimes, right? Unless they really understand what's happening.
Yeah. Okay. That's fascinating.
Activating and pushing out bad stuff is not the same as disease, but we don't know the difference sometimes.
And there's the energy that's coming at you, but there's also, and I shouldn't say and there's also the energy of your own feedback loop, right? And like I'm thinking in terms of intuitive coaching and negative beliefs. So if I constantly feel I'm not worthy, I have my own, like there's additional stuff that's coming in from outside, but I also have my own thing going on where I'm constantly shielding myself from feeling not worthy. So I'm doing, and that's also part of it too. So it's not always just everything coming at me. It's stuff I've created. Okay.
It's your own stuff inside too.
Yeah.
And that's why Master O talks a lot about cultivating the heart and soul. And this Qigong particularly is cultivating more consciousness of your heart and soul. And our hearts and souls are founded in kindness and compassion. So the more we actually believe that, the more we cultivate and start to pay attention to how we actually operate within ourselves, to ourselves, and then how that reaction affects others, the more we start to realize the negative energy and the amount of energy we're using to defend, to combat, to fight, to go into disharmony with others, that takes more energy than staying peaceful and calm and separate and slightly emotionally detached and recognizing self separately from others and not getting hooked into the drama. So the more we can cultivate that kind of padding and peace and calm, the more we keep our life force energy to us, right? We keep it, and it starts to fuel our health.
So the same principle when we talk like in class and whatnot, in intuitive coaching class, or even animal communication class, and we're always talking about how we feel, how we, like me, the individual, how I feel, how it feels in my body, how I want to be, how I show my face to the world. All I need to worry about is this, and the rest will follow. That's to some degree the same principle as what you're talking about too. I just love
it's really amazing how they overlap. Just different language, different
I was about to say that even just what I know about the Toltec traditions, and even Abraham Hicks and that, this concept of being selfish, it's only in our language that the word selfish has come to mean something bad. In other words, you're doing something to please yourself instead of pleasing me. That's what selfish means, which, why should I, but that's it's about keeping yourself contained, as you like, not getting involved in the drama, which means not getting involved in other people's, that's not to say not to have. Now there's a difference, compassion but not empathy for people. I always struggle with the distinction, but I think, is it compassionate? I can see you and I appreciate your pain, but I am not joining you in your pain. I'm over here offering you guidance rather than getting in there and being empathic, which is what most of us end up doing. And
Right.
then,
So from it's a really good discussion, right? What is compassion?
Mhm.
Because it's the essence of the practice. Compassion means being able to hold someone else with the same love and regard as you hold yourself, no matter what is going on for them, the way that no matter what is going on for you. So every single being on this planet, human, animal, great nature, everything, you hold in the same loving space in your heart as if it was your family member.
that's not a good analogy, Karen.
That's what Master O says, though.
No, I know, but for some of us, holding it as your
Right.
family might be more challenging than saying, imagine
Yes.
it's a complete stranger off.
Cool. Yeah, for me too.
But yes, so
Because there's a sense of detachment in seeing your struggle and your ego and your humanness is not the real you.
Mhm.
I don't have to engage with it, but I can also hold you in regard, which allows kindness, right? Even separating from someone, doing it with kindness.
But doesn't that also the founding premise of that is that you are able to hold yourself in loving kindness.
Right. Yes.
It's fascinating how, as you say, Julie, all these different, I mean, some of them very, very, you know, law of attraction, I wouldn't necessarily expect that to match, but actually there is no discord between anything you've said and my beliefs through law of attraction.
Yeah.
It's
No.
fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it must be true, because how could so many different people come to the same conclusion?
Mhm.
I know. I totally agree. And selfish. I love talking about the word selfish
Me too.
because it's true in our society that gets used as like a dagger toward
Mhm.
people. I've had people say that to me too. And it can really hurt because in this society, selfish means something so terrible, but really selfish is about being aware of oneself and what you need to do to care for yourself. So you're not a burden, so you're not a burden to anyone else.
Mhm.
So that when you show up for someone else, you're showing up for them as your best self,
Mhm.
right? Being selfish doesn't mean doing something that you need to do for yourself that then hurts someone else. It's in some ways, if you look at it from the real meaning of it, the compassionate meaning of it, selfish means taking care of yourself so you can be a better human for society
Mhm.
and give back in a way where you full and complete within yourself, and you can share that with others.
And if you can't feel full and whatever you just said for yourself, you can't offer it to anyone else. So it's exactly what you're saying. So it's almost like you've got to get yourself there.
Right.
And then in I've forgotten his name already, but your master's words, then hold other people in that same light. But that's based on the premise that you can hold yourself there first. So if you can't hold yourself there, you know, and this is consistent with like with Abraham Hicks as well. If you are not in alignment, you have nothing to offer.
Mhm.
Like you can if you go and help people where you're not in that right place to do it or not taking care of yourself, you've nothing to offer them.
Right.
But so much of our society, and it's been, I don't know where it happened in us. Something briefly dropped through my head, but I don't know if it's worth exploring. It's almost like we've sort of, our culture is such that we have torn down structures and traditions, which in some ways is very good and trying to make everybody equal and all of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's side effect of that is we are all in service to everybody now. Like we don't have clearly defined roles anymore. We're expected to do and be everything to everyone. And if you're not serving me, and you know, when you think of the jobs that we have, we're so emancipated because we get to work for money. And yet the reality is we spend every waking minute serving somebody else for nothing other than money. It's nothing to do with how we feel about it. It's nothing to do with how productive in terms of how, you know, how it nurtures us. It's all about the money, nothing else. And then and then you go home and your parents are trying to force you to do things a certain way because this is the way society is, you know, and your friends have certain expectations on you and society has all these expectations and you're not allowed to be selfish and go, well, I don't want to do that. Whereas the irony is the person who calls you selfish is the person who wants you to do something for them.
Right. The person who's calling you selfish is a person who's living in a negative energy of jealousy.
Yeah.
And to be able to step back and say, and it's hard to do. I've had that foisted at me too, thrown out in my face. And in the moment, I couldn't handle stepping back like this. Years later, lots of meditation later, you know, I wish I could have done it then. I could see, okay, this is about jealousy. So if I step back from this and understand that this person is slinging this at me because they're feeling out of control, they're jealous that I might be choosing to do something that makes me feel better, and they don't feel better. And they may be believing that if I'm doing it, there isn't enough for them. Then I come to a place of, oh my God, I feel for them.
Yeah.
And
Do
I
you
can
remember
walk away
Julian?
from that conversation without me taking it in personally.
Yeah.
I can do that now, but I couldn't do it then.
Yeah.
And yeah, do you remember Matt Kahn, Julie, when we were doing Matt Kahn's book, he said the same about resentment. And he said the reason we resent people who appear, and to make a longer story would be, who appear to be selfish or carefree or all that, is we're so fucking angry that we can't do that. Like, how dare you choose to do your own thing, you selfish. That's where resentment comes from as well. When he said, if you look at resentment, it's a longing in yourself to be able to behave in that way, that you are, as you say, jealous of the fact that somebody else has gone, oh, I don't care what you think. I'm doing this over here, which is what we should all be doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Agree.
It's really interesting when you say that, Kate, because the other thing that popped into my head, because the guides are around us, because we all do soul level intuitive coaching. So, you know, they're all here. We can't help it. And the other thing got shined a light on for me was when somebody's in that state, they're feeling lost from their own soul. And they don't know how the person that they're feeling jealous about, that they think is selfish, has such a good sense of themselves. Because how come you got to know who you are and do what you know is good for you, but I can't figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's,
so it's actually a soul thing too that's happening.
Oh yeah.
It's a really powerful emotion as well. I mean, I know when I met Gary, because I was I can see now, obviously, completely and utterly under my mum's thumb, resentfully, very, very resentfully. Like, I was very aware that I was doing too much, but couldn't see a way out of it. And Gary's mum has or had MS, and so she was completely disabled and lived at home with his dad. So it was a tough life, you know, for both of them. But you know, Gary would go and see her when he wanted to go and see where he wanted. He didn't feel this obligation. And I used to think, you know, so much anger, but it was resentment that, you know, but more than the resentment was the judgment. You should be doing this.
Yeah.
And it's taken me all these years to realize he's got it right. He only shares himself with people when he wants to. He won't go along and then like me and then be like a miserable torn-faced cow the whole time because I don't really want to be there, and then going home and resenting them and lying awake at night seething with anger and resentment of how my life is being dominated by somebody and being completely helpless and leading down to a breakdown, basically.
And there goes your life force.
Yeah, all of it down the toilet. And it's all those things that, and it was on my first retreat. I went on a Buddhist retreat, not knowing it was Buddhist, but you know, that's fine. Like, there's little to object to really in Buddhism. And the guy that was talking to there, I was like, oh my God, it's like all the qualities that I thought made me a valuable human being are all the qualities that are now destroying me. And I realized that it's like everything that I believed was good about me: dutiful daughter, efficient worker, but you know, being with work, like I would spend all my nights when I wasn't at work, I would be problem solving in my head. I would wake up in the night, go, oh my God, you know, we do it this way, we can do that. Like my whole life, I mean, I wasn't obsessed with my work, it wasn't like that, but I was so busy and such a demanding position, it was completely out of my depth. And I was just fixing it, man. And I was on a roll because I just fix shit, man. You know, and it was really, but all those things are ultimately your downfall. It's like everything that our society holds as valuable are all qualities that have nothing to do with yourself. It's all about giving it away. You know what I mean? Quite shocking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
Yeah.
this, oh, go ahead,
Go ahead.
Karen.
No,
Oh,
I was just gonna say, well, and if work ethic is coming out of an expectation and begrudging you, of course you're giving it all away. But if having a good work ethic and choosing what you do for work and
Mhm.
doing it to the best of your ability because you believe in yourself and you want to be a good human being for yourself, and in turn that makes you a good human being for others because you've chose whatever job you choose to do, even if it's flipping burgers, right? Or becoming a surgeon. It doesn't matter what the job is. If you've chosen to do it and you want to do it to the best of your ability because you care about your own self-worth, then that pours out of you in your job and affects others in a way that they feel appreciated, right? And they feel included and they don't feel like you hate them because you hate your job, right?
I was that waitress, never ever eating my pot.
Right. But haven't you guys met people who have, like, you would think the simplest jobs,
mhm.
and yet they are the kindest, friendliest people because they love life. They love themselves. They love the people
Yeah.
that are around them. They enjoy doing a good job,
Mhm.
whatever it is. That's a sign of a cultivated heart and soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And from a law of attraction perspective, when you're in that space, then other things flow to
Correct.
you, such as abundance, the money that you need, or whatever that may
Right.
be, and mhm,
Right. Yeah.
friendships and whatnot. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the ripple effect that we talk about too. And I get that a lot from the animals when they're trying to get their humans to put themselves first.
Right.
So I tend to attract a lot of clients that have that do everything for everybody and very little for themselves. And the animals continually are stepping in their line of sight is how I how I'm seeing it right now, like in their line of sight to go, no, you need to come forward and do what you need to do for yourself, and the rest will fall in line. That's such a hard, that is, it is such a non-valued place to be in what I will call as Western society. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
know the animals are so good at that, aren't they?
I
At just
know.
being really present with what they need, enjoying every single moment as it is, and wanting us to be the same.
Yeah. Yep. Very much so.
Mhm.
It was raining today, and the guys came to cut the lawn. It's been the first time this year, and I thought I better go and check where the chickens are and that. And they were all asleep in the shed, and I just thought, how marvelous! Just they just sort of looked up as I came in, and they'd all just been snoozing. Like, and I just
Yeah.
thought, what a great life! That
Yeah.
it's okay to snooze. That is good use of your time, as opposed to those of us that fall asleep on a couch, wake up groggy, panicked. Oh my God, what have I missed? What should I be doing? Dribbled on the couch because you're so that And it's like there's something so delicious about just being able to fall asleep because there's nothing pressing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a House song, isn't it? No sleep is wasted.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And even from a creativity perspective, I've noticed that if I try to push through and do like one more post or one more, I don't know, video or something, it actually ends up being shit because
Yeah.
because I don't even have, like, I probably don't have like the life force in the moment, but I'm not taking care of myself, which is
Right.
why, yeah, I think Qigong can be so important because it is a way of taking care of yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
the
how
other,
would you
go
start,
ahead.
Karen?
Mm.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Kate.
How would you start? Is it exercises? Um is it coming to you for treatment? If someone said, okay, this sounds great, where do I start? How do I sign up for this?
How do I sign up for my 20 minutes a day, which is a test as well, because most people think I don't have 20 minutes a day,
Right.
but we do if we choose it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, people can come to me, come to my website at karendendysmith.com and see about signing up to learn the Qigong instruction. I can teach it online. It's an amazing meditation form, and that you can just stand in one place and move your hands and arms. That's the extent of the movement. It's about the practice, the visualizations and the movement. And it takes about 20 minutes to do one full practice. For most people, that's a good start. I try to practice about an hour and a half a day.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be like four practices.
So when you say practice, it's like an exercise, a sequence of movements.
Yes, and visualizations, and the way that it works is by using the opening and closing mantra. You're actually opening the gate of this life force energy to come even smoother to you. And the more you practice, the more you start to feel it in your nervous system and physically in your body, starting to move things in your body, which is, once that happens, people are hooked. It's like, oh my God, I felt it.
You say 20 minutes a day and you would start to feel that.
Yep. Some people are really sensitive. I'm finding more and more now, more and more people are actually sensitive, more than they used to be 20 even years ago.
Yeah, I'm not. I need a sledgehammer. I think it's because I just discount things, maybe because I have been sensitive all my life and never realized it. So now I want a loudspeaker, otherwise it doesn't feel real.
Yep, it can be.
I wonder if in the US in particular, if in its own, well, England's gone through stuff too, but I wonder if in the just because
England,
I mean, Scotland, Great Britain, the whole island.
some people will.
Yeah. Anyway, but because I'm American, so I can only speak from American and even Midwestern culture, but we've gone through a lot of stuff over the last 3 years. So I wonder, it almost feels like to me, some of that sensitivity is also because we are raw, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, because of COVID, because of political situations here in the US, that type of, and that's continually churning and whatnot. I think we're also exhausted. And so sometimes I wonder if if that exhaustion and depletion also leaves us feeling open, or I don't know, I guess raw is the word I'm coming back to, but I don't know if that's been part of what your experience has been too, Karen, with clients and whatnot.
Yeah, I think some people are at their wits' end about knowing what to do. Some people are finally like, I've tried everything else, so now my guard is down because I'm open to seeing. And really, once our energetic guard goes down, we feel more.
Yeah.
Right? Skepticism, cynicism is a great energetic wall.
Hello.
So even opening the window or the door just a crack and saying, all right, I'm going to hold on to my skepticism or my cynicism, but I'm also going to leave room for a little bit of hope or something I just don't know. So that if I let it in, okay, and it shows up great.
Yeah.
Both of you ladies, I've had this once before, or not once before, I've had it a few times. I've sort of put it down to, I don't know. I thought at one point, maybe Abraham Hicks talks about when your vibration rises too quickly for your body, it takes a while for the body to catch up. I would love for it to have been that. I don't know that it was. Did you ever get like a buzzing in your ears?
Yes.
Really uncomfortable in that I feel like there's a generator, like it feels like big heavy machinery, not just a fridge. And I actually had that last night, and I actually got up and I was walking around the house because it felt like there was a digger outside, like that. I could feel, and I can actually like there's pressure involved, it's not just noise, and it's horrible. Is that sensitivity? Maybe it was that really. When you said about raw, Julie, I wonder if that's it. It's like, on the one hand, I'm really trying to open up. On the other hand, I'm not cynical about these things. I'm cynical that I have the ability to observe and to feel and to experience. And as Julie, it's an ongoing battle between me and Julie's guides about, just let go. That sort of.
And your chicken, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a chicken, and all my animals having strange, inexplicable health issues now. But I got that last night, and I was thinking, is this in me? But it felt actually more like a sensitivity to vibrations in a house rather than
Mhm.
like an energetic thing. It was almost like my nerves was so heightened that I actually was picking up on the fridge and how that motion was moving the whole house. It was horrible, really not nice.
So our nervous systems, right? Heightened nervous systems. We all have heightened nervous systems. That's why we're doing this intuitive work. Everybody has a nervous system. Everybody has a pineal gland. Everybody has a third eye. Everyone has the beacons. It's just whether you exercise them. Sometimes over exercising without enough cultivated grounding life force in you can kind of push too much up into the nervous system, up into the chest, up into the head, and it can cause like an overwhelm, an imbalance of feelings, a fuzziness in the head, too much going on in the brain, right? That spinningness that can happen in the brain. So that's one thing that can happen when we're practicing, using our intuition, but not replacing the life force that contains us being able to do this practice. And so yeah, you can deplete so that you're feeling raw with your nervous system, overusing it, but not having enough to feed it and keep it calm as you're using it. So it's like over exercising or running a marathon when you really should only be running 3 miles and be building up to the marathon like a workout.
Yeah. So that's what happened with me the other week. So Karen helped me the other week. I don't know if I told you this, Kate, but so Karen helped me the other week because I had this meeting for the nonprofit that I work on. And I had this meeting and I just felt completely unheard, shut down, ignored, and I got completely thrown off track. And that night that afternoon, actually, I developed a migraine and I felt something snap in my head. And then the whole weekend it took me to try to recover. And on Monday, I still felt terrible. I didn't have any energy. I was fatigued. I still felt like I had a headache. I didn't feel like I was a mess. And I was like, what the heck is going on? I thought I was having a stroke or an aneurysm. And so I just text Karen and I'm like, I think I need help, which that in of itself for me was hard to do, like ask for help. Thank you. But yeah, and I don't know if you want to talk about that, Karen, like what you found. You might not even remember. Do you even remember? But
you should share how it made you feel too, because that's what's super cool.
yeah.
But I found that so what happens is I started to feel like where the emotional energy was, right? So I could feel your heightened frustration.
Mm-hmm.
I could feel like tightness in your liver because of it. I could feel like your chest kind of tightening up from and I had a knowing that your heart was really sad, you know? I also felt like I had no stability when I was standing, like all the weight of the life force was up in my chest. And when that happens, when all that chi gets ungrounded and goes zip, it feeds the brain and the brain starts going crazy. And I felt like something had gone so hot and gone up into your chest and your throat that it was creating like a heated misfiring in your head. And really what we needed was to just pull the energy, smooth the energy down through your brain, your spine, your nervous system, your parasympathetic nervous system, and just keep moving it back down to where it belonged and giving you some weight so the energy would sit where, pool down where it belonged, down below your belly button in that lower dantian, and give yourself space to breathe. Because I felt like all this pressure just kept going inside my head, just pushing.
Yeah. It was
So you're using your intuitive abilities there then, Karen. So typically I was assuming that Pangu people don't necessarily have that level of intuition. So you're talking about practices for people that will help them over time build a practice, but you're also giving healing.
Yes.
And that's enhanced by your intuitive abilities.
So yes, in a nutshell. So the first part of this is just learning to cultivate energy for yourself. The more you can come at cultivating with peace and calm and quieting the mind. A lot of people think the mind drives everything, but it isn't. It's the computer that is turned on by the heart and soul.
Mhm.
But when the mind starts running ahead of the heart and soul, that's when we start kind of using up way too much energy and kind of losing our grounding. So the Qigong practice, there's 3 levels of it. There's the moving form, which comes first, which strengthens the immunity and strengthens the body. A little bit starts to work on the intuition and the nervous system. Once that's all, you've got that under your belt and grounded for about a month, then you can add in the next layer, which is the non-moving form, which is mostly focusing on heightening and fueling the intuition, the nervous system, the emotional things that are the emotional capacity, our thinking capacity in our body, but from a calm and peaceful place, because you've already strengthened the immune system and the body itself to be able to contain that extra electrical frequencies that are coming in. So you learn to move them and merge them together. And then once you've done that for a while, then you can go on to what's called an advanced form, which is condensing all of that practice down into 5 minutes, which is really, really powerful.
Mm.
But first you've got to give yourself space and time to refuel yourself with the clear stuff and move out the muddy stuff, the murky stuff that's in your energy fields.
Sounds like that Buddhist, that book we read about, Buddha for Breakfast, Julie.
Oh, Breakfast with Buddha. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then to your point, Kate, another thing you can also learn to do is send energy, what we would call healing skills. Right? If you're cultivating life force for yourself, you can then be attuned and wired by Master O to cultivate that energy and give it to someone else. Similar to Reiki, but it's literally like one class and one wiring that happens. And then the quality of what you send depends on the quality of your own heart and soul. How much you can send, how much sensitivity you have, how much compassion you have to sense what's going on for someone else comes from cultivating so much life force that you're working on your own heart and soul, so that when you're in the presence of someone else who needs your help, there's this like overwhelming kind of like sense of respect and love, soul to soul, and that's what makes you become like the strongest conduit to be able to help someone else.
Mhm.
Or an animal or a plant. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So when Karen worked on with me, on me, about me, whatever the preposition is, what was interesting to me was, I mean, I just felt absolutely depleted going into it. And then she was saying, she felt like it just got clamped, like everything got clamped. So as she begins the meditation, I think it was 20 minutes, right? A 20-minute meditation.
I think it worked on you for about 30 minutes, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah, it goes
I was
quick.
clamped. I was,
Yeah.
anyway. But I was sitting in this chair. She said I should go lie down, but Lucas was on my feet and I didn't want to move. It felt really good. Anyway, but I sat in this chair and just leaned back, and the whole, throughout the meditation, I could see different colors. So I felt like things were moving up here, but at some point I could feel heat rising all the way through my cheeks. Cause I think when I started with you that day, I was kind of pale and gray, but by the end, my cheeks were red and I felt amazing at the end. I still felt like I needed to take a really good nap and rest and make sure I drank a lot of water, but I felt realigned and regrounded, and it was really, and I felt like things were flowing again. And what's so cool too, Karen, and I haven't told you this though, is since then, because the conversation that started that day when I clamped down, of course, is continuing, but I find myself staying in a grounded space and coming at it from here, instead of thinking, okay, wait, I got to make sure I say this because if I don't, they're going to think this, and just like getting all caught up in stuff. It's still a practice. I'm not by any means, perfect at it, and it's going to be ongoing. And there's some big things coming too, but it's just kind of like, no, this is what I think I need to do, and that's what I'm going to do. So it's really, that time was so helpful. It's crazy.
Wow.
It's just crazy. And I remember the first thing you said to me, you're like, you're nervous that something big is going on. I didn't tell you I thought I was having a stroke or an aneurysm. And anyway, but there's a whole story there, which I won't go into, but that was the first thing you said. You're like, you think something big is going on and it's not. Don't worry, you're fine. She said that first thing. It was pretty cool. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's probably a really good place to stop, Julie. I don't know how long we've been talking.
Oh my gosh, we've been talking for a while. Yes.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
before we go, I just want to ask Karen one last little thing, and that's about a special group that you founded. So I just want you to tell our viewers about the Animal Communication Collective.
That you guys are a part of.
We are.
Yeah,
In,
and we should do
integral.
we should do a bigger
Yeah.
chat on this, but yeah.
Oh, I'd love to do that. Yeah, that you guys are integral and important part of. So the Animal Communication Collective is all of us coming together, animal communicators that are professionally certified. We've all come together to form this amazing volunteer group association that works with rescues, shelters, animal welfare organizations all around the world, raising funds with online fundraising events where we do many animal communication readings for like 6 to 8 people in the audience in each event. And all of the ticket proceeds, all of the raffle tickets to win private readings after the event is over, all that stuff goes, all that money goes to the rescue or shelter that we're working with that evening. And it's really cool because we have a lot of heartfelt messages coming through. You know, we all work together. We've done this together. And we've been doing this now for about 2.5 years, right? And it's really, this is a place where you come with a lot of love in your heart and you just give. Mm-hmm. Right? And you support animals, and we help animals have a voice, and it opens hearts and minds in new ways. And that's really the whole point, because that's what the animals want. That's why we're doing it, because the animals were saying, we need to come together and do something differently. Not, yes, it's great that we're all getting to talk to our people and our owners or our family members one-on-one, but something bigger has to happen. Something bigger has to change. And so this is part of, I think, in alignment with the shift of the universe and the planets and making change happen and changing people's minds about how things actually are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really cool. What? There's like 30 of us now in the group.
Yeah.
Doing these really fun events, like at least once a month now.
Mm-hmm. At
People
least
can sign up and buy tickets and come see us and hang out with us.
Yeah, we'll put the website in the show notes so that people can learn more and can find out how to support. So, but yeah, we'll have you back. We'll talk about that in more detail too. So, but yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Thank you for talking with us about Qigong. I think
it's amazing, Karen. You've actually inspired me. So I'll have to go and have a look at your website and that, because 20 minutes there, I can find that.
And you know what else? Practicing amongst your animals, standing in the middle of your animals when you practice, they get the benefit of it because they feel that energy around them all the time. And when you focus on it and hone it and bring it in with focus and love in your heart, they get to take it in like a sponge as well.
I'd have to wake her up though.
Nope, they can sleep. Just stand right next to the chickens and start doing your thing. And
I love that actually, because they're so mesmerizing because they just stand and peck at me like that. Tick, 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 tick.
No,
tick,
I have a feeling they're going to sit there and just go. And their feathers are going to go up a little and they're just going to take it in like a sponge.
Okay. That's a challenge.
Yep.
That's been wonderful. Thank you, Karen. And we will do another session about the ACC actually, because there's so much to talk about there. But thank you, Karen, our animal communicator and soul level intuitive coach extraordinaire. You're teaching us. You were, what is the word? You're the OJ there, and it sounds like you're second gen for the key. Sorry, I got coached in this before we started and I still got it wrong. Qigong. Your second gen, that's still pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, learning
if you got taught by the OG.
I got taught by the source, yes.
Oh, then you're OG.
I guess I am.
It's going to be Karen. So do you want Karen Dendy OJ Smith or Karen OJ Dendy Smith?
You gotta make sure you say OG, because OJ in the States is a different connotation.
Yeah, that's a bad connotation.
Well, yeah, okay. We'll just call you OG. Oh my
OG.
goodness. Oh my goodness, why is it so hard for me to say anything? Right.
That too.
That too. I'm Kate Foggo, and with me, as always, is Julie Hurt. And today's special guest is Karen O.G. Dendy Smith, Master of Qigong, animal communication, soul level intuitive coaching, and much, much, much more. So we'll put all your links in the show notes. It's been an absolute pleasure. And if you'd like to, oh, see, I'm getting all flustered now, Julie. Julie usually does this bit better. You can follow us here by pressing on the subscribe button. You can follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. If you'd like for us to talk about any other comments, please, any other things, please put it in the comments, or any other suggestions. Otherwise, please do subscribe or forward us on to other people so others may find us. We are making light, and I was going to say good night, but it could be good day. I'll just say goodbye.
Okay. All right.